Hello students, welcome to the class of Business Studies. I am NK Thukral from Edupedia World. Students, in the previous session, I had discussed on Indian economic policy or Indian industrial policies. And further, I had also discussed in brief the objectives of Indian economic policy, that is liberalization, privatization and globalization. However, in brief, I may tell you again that economic environment is also called business environment and are used interchangeably. In order to solve the economic problem of our country, the government has taken several steps, including control by the state of certain industries, central planning and reduced importance of private sector. According to the main objectives of India's development plan, the steps were taken to initiate rapid economic growth to raise the standard of living, reduce the widespread unemployment and poverty stalking the land. And also, it was thought fit to make the policy so that the Indian population become self-reliant and set up a strong industrial base with emphasis on heavy and basic industries. Achieve balanced regional development by establishing industries across the country, reduce inequalities of income and wealth, and adopt a socialist pattern of development. The broad features of the policy was the government reduced the number of industries under compulsory licensing to 6 only, disinvestment was carried out, policies towards foreign capital was liberalized, automatic permission was granted for technological agreement with foreign companies, and setting up Foreign Investment Promotion Board. Now let's talk on objectives of economic policies one by one. Let us talk on first liberalization. As earlier in the previous session, I told you what is liberalization, what is its meaning. In simple words, liberalization means removal of unnecessary controls and restrictions on business. So this is what liberalization is. Now the question was how the Indian industries to be liberalized. So what was thought fit? That the following measures were taken. Number one by one, I can tell you abolition of licensing requirement. And second is no restrictions on expansion. So abolishing licensing requirement in most of the industries except a short list, freedom in deciding the scale of business activities, that is no restrictions on expansion or contraction of business activities, and removal of restrictions on movement of goods and services. So these measures were taken and these were the measures. And another one, as you can see in the slide, freedom in fixing prices of goods and services. Another step was taken, reduction in tax rates and lifting of unnecessary controls. Another one, as you can see, simplifying the procedures for imports and exports. And another one, liberal process to attract foreign capital. So the main objectives of liberalization was to initiate rapid economic growth to raise the standard of living, reduce the widespread unemployment and property stacking the land, become self-reliant and set up a strong industrial base, and achieve balanced regional development by establishing industries across the country. Let's go ahead, students. Next objective was privatization. Now what is privatization? Privatization means giving greater role to the private sector in the nation building process and a reduced role to the public sector. Means public sector's role was to be reduced. That's when only privatization can come. So it involves transfer of ownership, management and controls of public sector enterprises to the entrepreneurs in the private sector. This was a reversal of the development strategy pursued so far by Indian planners. For privatization, what government has done? What was the measure taken by the government? Number one, disinvestment, and number two, revival of sick PSUs. Now what is disinvestment? As in the previous session, I had told you, disinvestment means selling the undertaking. Disinvestment refers to selling a part or the whole of shares of public sector undertakings. It dilutes the stake of government in the PSUs. If private sector acquires more than 51% shares, then it would result in transfer of ownership and management of PSU to the private sector. So this is what this investment is. So what has been done in privatization? The new set of economic reforms aimed at giving greater role to the private sector in the nation building process and a reduced role to the public sector. Number two, to achieve this, how to achieve this? The government redefined the role of public sector in the new industrial policy of 1991. The purpose of the same, according to the government, was mainly to improve financial discipline and facilitate modernization. It was also observed that private capital and managerial capabilities could be effectively utilized to improve the performance of public sector undertakings. The government has also made attempts to improve the efficiency of PSUs by giving them autonomy in taking managerial decisions. Another measure was taken, revival of sick PSUs, means the public sector undertaking which were not performing under the standard norms. The Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction was set up to revive sick PSU, means making huge losses for last more than 3 years. So these were considered as a sick PSU. Which PSU was defined as sick in the policy and how to revive them. And for that, board was set up that was called the Board of Industrial and Financial Reconstruction. So let's go ahead, students. Next objective was globalization. Now what is globalization? First, let us understand. As you can see in the slide, the definition is given: integrating the various economies of the world, leading towards the emergence of a cohesive global economy. This globalization means integrating the various economies of the world, leading towards the emergence of a cohesive global economy. Means interaction and interdependence involved in this cohesive global economy. So this is what globalization is. Globalization involves integrating the national economy with the world economy through removal of barriers on international trade and capital movements. Now the question is, what has been done by the government in globalization? What measures have been taken by the government? As you can see, number one is the removal of barriers on international trade and capital movements. Second, strictly regulated imports through licensing. And third is liberalization of foreign trade. And another one is increased level of interaction among nations of global economy. So globalization increased the level of interaction and interdependence among the various nations of global economy. With globalization, business enterprises can easily serve customers in a distant geographical market. So in all, I can conclude on globalization is that globalization is the outcome of the policies of liberalization and privatization already initiated by the government. Globalization is generally understood to mean integration of the economy of the country with the world economy. It is an outcome of the set of various policies that are aimed at transforming the world towards greater interdependence and integration, and it involves creation of networks and activities transcending economic, social and geographical boundaries, and globalization involves an increased level of interaction and interdependence among the various nations of the global economy. Further, physical geographical gap or political boundaries no longer remain barrier for a business enterprise to serve a customer in distant geographical market across the globe. These were the measures taken and these were the purposes. Now question is, how the economy is truly globalized? What should be done? An economy is true global. I can tell you, the economy of any country is true global when there is free flow of goods and services across nations, free flow of capital across nations, free flow of information and technology, and free movement of people cross borders, and a common acceptable mechanism for the settlement of disputes. So this is how the economy can be truly globalized. So this is all in case of liberalization, privatization and globalization. So students, let's go ahead and let us see what are the impact of economic reforms. The reforms taken by the government, what was the impact on that? Number one is increasing competition. After the economic reforms, delicensing and liberalized entry of foreign firms have increased the competition for Indian firms, especially in service industries like telecommunication, airlines, banking, insurance, etc. For example, banking reforms increased the competition for nationalized bank like State Bank of India from domestic bank like ICICI Bank and MNC Bank like HSBC, etc. So this competition was increased. Second impact was more demanding customers. Today, customers have become more demanding because they are well informed and manufacturers take pains in satisfying their expectations. Increased competition in the market gives the customers wider choice in purchasing better quality of goods and services. This has created the buyer's market in the country. Another impact which had made the impact of economic reform is rapidly changing technology environment. What is that? Increased competition made it compulsory for Indian firms to adopt the latest technology in production. Use of advanced technology provides a competitive edge and helps to improve machines, process, products and services. For example, Tata spent huge amount on research and development of nano car. Another impact was necessity for change. Before the economic reforms, the business environment was quite stable and business plans and policies used to continue for a long period of time. However, after reforms, the market forces have become turbulent and enterprises have to continuously modify their operations and policies. So, firms like LG, Samsung, Bajaj keep on making changes in their product so that their product can face competition. So, necessity was there when these reforms were taken place. Another point is need for developing human resource. This impact has made Indian firms have suffered a lot due to shortage of trained personnel. The new market conditions require people with higher competence and greater commitment. Hence, the firms have realized the need to develop human resources. For example, firms regularly arrange on-the-job and off-the-job training for their employees so as to update their knowledge. Another impact was felt market orientation. Earlier, firms used to follow production-oriented approach, that is, produce first and then go to the market for sale. However, with increase in competition and the firms have shifted to market-oriented approach. That is, study and analyze the needs of the market first and then produce goods to satisfy buyer in an effective manner. Another point is loss of budgetary support to public sector. After the economic reforms, the role of public sector has declined. As a result, the government has also reduced the financial support to the public sector undertaking. PSU have realized that in order to survive and grow in the competitive world, they will have to improve their performance and generate their own resources. So considering all the above points we had discussed, we can say that economic reforms have an important impact on Indian economy. Therefore, Indian economy comes on track which lose in decade of 1980s. Liberalization, privatization and globalization come in behavior after the economic reforms. Foreign investors started the investment in many sectors. The positive impacts were companies do not hesitate to undertake restructuring, merging and acquisitions. Many industries now cater to the world market. There is a rise in quality and cost consciousness of Indian workers. There is a shift from labor-intensive to capital-intensive method of production among entities. Trade union and workers exhibit little or no hostility and pressure, and owing to better facilities and support for exporters, there has been a rise in value-added exports. Further, there has been an upward trend in quality, R&D, technological growth and productivity. These are the positive points of impact on economic reform. However, negative impacts were also felt like insufficient fiscal discipline, non-implementation of industrial deregulation, foreign trade measures, unplanned disinvestment and infrastructure growth. So, positive and negative impacts were felt after the economic reforms. So, this is all for today class. We have sufficiently covered on the Indian economy, and let's wind up today for the class. Thank you. Bye bye.